Want to become a better communicator? Think Post-it notes. Hi, I'm Ken Okel. I help leaders make their teams more productive and profitable. Let's talk about communication today and what I meant by a Post-it note. Okay, let's say that you're trying to communicate a thought or a concept or a new policy to your employees and they don't really get what you're saying. Is that costly? Does it hurt your business? Then you may have some communication problems. Let me turn back the clock on myself and illustrate a problem I once had. When I was a TV news reporter, when I was just starting out, I was all excited about the job. I wanted to ask the perfect questions. So I'd grab a legal pad and I would write question after question on it. And I was determined to ask each and every one of them. Now, I was prepared, but I wasn't really doing a good job of the interviews because I was more focused on getting through all of those questions than the responses I was getting. You know, sometimes I'd get back in the edit bay and realize, oh my gosh, I should have asked a follow-up question there. But you know why I didn't? I wasn't paying attention. I was focused on my silly list. You know, sometimes it almost got to the point where I'd be at a county fair and I'd ask somebody, oh, do you like the fair? And they'd say something like, oh, I love it. Every year I go. And last year, you know, I murdered my wife. And then I would just say, oh, what food do you eat at the fair? You see in this example, it's never happened, but some things like it did, where I just didn't listen to the person's response because I was so focused on what I wanted to say next. So enter the Post-it notes, because I realized I had to ditch that long list of questions and instead put down some key points on a Post-it note. And then that would help me generate the questions I would use during the interview. This way I could go with the flow of the interview. So if the interview subject started to talk about something different that wasn't my next question, no problem. I could follow up with it later. I could listen to what they were saying. I could respond to it. I could be that much more effective and efficient. And guess what? The quality of my interviews improved because I was having a conversation with the person and not just interrogating them with a long list of questions. So in your world, are you making things a little too complicated? Are you making the communication process just about you? Can you take your message, boil it down to a Post-it note? Then you can always flesh it out again in an email or something like that. But make sure that you're not getting too complicated, that people aren't sure what they need to do next. What's the next step? What's the policy? What's the intention of the email? If these things are kind of in there, but there's a lot of other stuff around, you open the door to interpretation, and that can lead to costly mistakes. Now, another concept that I want to talk to you about. If you're explaining a policy to people, you may think, I explained it perfectly well, and when people are asking you questions, you're not really paying attention to them. As a result, you don't really answer their questions. So you really want to make sure you're focused on the other person, hearing what they're saying, maybe even pause a beat, and then respond. What happens when you're talking to employees, if they don't get it, they might ask you once to explain it a little bit more, but if your response really didn't satisfy them, they're probably not going to ask the boss again to explain it. So you want to try to get it the first time. So remember, communication, it doesn't have to be complicated. Simplify it. See if you can fit it on a Post-it note. For more about me, go to my website, kenokel.com. Well, there you can find out more about my live speaking presentations. You can check out my book, Stuck on Yellow. You can also hear my podcast, the 2-Minute Takeaway podcast, which you can download from iTunes. 2-Minute Takeaway. Let's say you want to promote your business through video. I have a sister website that gives you step-by-step instructions on how you can do that. That site is called helpwithvideo.com. So I hope this message has helped you learn how to make your messages and your communication a little less complicated just through a simple piece of office stationery.